Getting there. Okay, we're live.
I love it. We start streaming and everybody stops chatting. This is going to be a highly interactive image competition like this. Every time Nick stops streaming, that's when everybody's going to start talking.
Yep. You got
Well,
it.
it's kind of an awkward, like, what do you do? It's not like somebody's sitting next to you chit-chatting.
No, exactly.
No, you just kind of make the assumption that everybody's downloading something that they shouldn't be downloading.
Well, Dwayne, that's a scary comment because nobody was thinking that, but you voiced it.
Hey, we've seen some of the stuff you create.
Oh my gosh. So funny.
Okay, Rebecca confirmed that she can see it live on YouTube. That's good. Thank you, Rebecca.
No, is she seeing the streaming live or is she seeing your pants live?
I think the streaming. I hope we're done with my pants.
I'm just not even going to touch that comment.
I'll have to remember next time to have a table sat beside me so that at least it's my shirt rather than my pants.
I don't know, then that would deprive us of all that great conversation about your pants.
There you go.
Got a lot of mileage out of that one.
This has been more conversation about Nick's pants than he's had in the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's no good.
Oh, golly.
Is that the same shot from this morning, Nick?
Yes, Jim.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Apparently, I left it running for a little longer than well, it's only a minute or two, but yeah, it was the one that you caught. Thank you. Well, no, I thank you for telling me. I hadn't even registered.
Are we still on your pants?
Yes. So
I called.
Jim,
Go ahead.
No, nothing. I have nothing.
So Jim called me at about 3 this afternoon just to confirm because he had to go off to a shoot. And I fired it up then, and it was sitting beside me. And he then said, Nick, you may want to cover your camera because...
Oh, that could go so many ways.
Yeah, and it got memorialized on YouTube, and I haven't figured out how to delete it yet. I know there's a way, but I had other things on my mind.
The saga of Nick's pants.
There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6:30 and time for image competition IEPPV style. Welcome once again to the IEPPV image competition. We're running a week late and we apologize for that. We had a few technical issues, but we have an illustrious panel of judges. We have Jim Doyle, Dwayne Murphy, and Ariane Bowers gracing us. All of them bring enormous wealth of experience and very, very different perspectives to judging our images. We have around 50 images in the competition, and the judges are already fired up and ready to go. So without further ado, I will switch on to the first image. The first category is children. And our first image is Here is Looking at You. Here is Looking at You.
Nick, I don't see anything.
You do not see, your slideshow did not advance?
No.
Okay. Let me see if I can force the issue. Can you try refreshing the screen, the browser, please, Jim? Oh, nothing, Jim?
Nope, not working. Hold on.
Okay.
Not working.
Still not working?
Still not working.
Okay. You tried restarting the browser? I'm not sure I can send you a different link.
It's full screen. You've got control of my screen.
Correct. Try pasting the link in that I sent.
Got it. Got it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Got it.
Cool.
Title again, please.
Title is Here's Looking at You. Here is Looking at You. And the final score is 74. Jim, why don't you start with this one? I know you're the last in, but I'm going to let you have a go at that one.
I scored a 68. I think there's several things that, it's a beautiful shot of the baby, but I would like to have seen a little more of the baby's face, number one. And number two, the hands are just totally out of focus. And the third point is the photographer is in the reflection in the baby's eyes. I think that if the photographer had backed up, used a higher depth of field, a better depth of field, and gotten the hands in focus, shown maybe more, a little bit of the mouth with a smile, because the baby's looks like the baby is potentially smiling, it could have improved it. It scored a 74, so.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Next image in the children's category is Playdate. Playdate.
Nick,
Yes.
the YouTube video is not advancing. It's still on the IEPPV screen. Several people are saying the YouTube slide is not advancing.
Let me take a look at that.
Hey, Nick, a fantastic trivia fact. Several of your members are sending me that text.
Yes, I just got that. Thank you.
Yeah, it seems that's what I was looking at.
Right. Okay.
There you go.
There we go. Note to self, if you got it full screen, you have to have it actually showing in order to share. Apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so still scoring play date.
Scoring's done.
Stan, did you say scoring's done?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the score is? I don't see it.
81.
Score is 81. So, Dwayne, why don't you talk about that one, please?
I actually love this image, especially upon first reveal. It's a great story, fun title, everything fits. As I'm looking through the image, there is detail everywhere it needs to be. A couple of nitpicky things, and I don't know if this is my monitor or the print itself. The highlights that are to the right of the girl's head in center are either blown out or pushing on the verge of being blown out. There's a couple areas through the center of the two children that appear that way. The eyeballs of the little boy that's holding a gun facing right into camera tilt his head onto camera just slightly so his eyes are not trapped in the corners of his eye sockets. And lastly, I love the fact that there's enough information there to see that it's a radial flyer. Adjust the combat webbing just a little bit more so you're not fighting to figure out what kind of wagon the child is sitting in. Other than that, I love the story and I like this print a lot.
Thank you, Dwayne. Okay, next image, still in the children's category, is Prima Ballerina. Prima Ballerina.
Final score 82.
Okay, Irene, would you talk about this one, please?
So I scored it an 84, deserving of a merit on the high end. I really love the lighting and I love the attitude that this little girl has. I like the color tones. I like everything about this image. I think it's a really cute image of a ballerina.
Okay, thank you. The final score, final image in the children's category, My Favorite Sport. My Favorite Sport. Final score, 81. Jim, back to you.
Is my microphone on? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Great. Amazing image. Well done to the maker. Two things that caught my eye that I think could make it. I scored it an 80, by the way, and I could have gone much higher. There's just, I think the ball on the left just caused a little bit of concern initially. But the other thing that's interesting is the third boy from the right is holding the glove in his. Now, my mistake. I'm thinking he was holding it in the wrong hand, but it was my mistake. I like the concept of what was accomplished here. How do we incorporate a baseball field into it or something like that? It looks like it was shot in the studio, but very, very well done. The lighting is good. The lighting is very uniform. And I think a few tweaks like that, like the ball and maybe a little more opening up of the shadows could raise it dramatically higher. And
Thank you, Jim.
Nick, can I make a quick comment?
Go ahead, Dwayne.
To the maker, I scored the image in 84. To the maker, watch what's happening around the child's feet, especially on image number 1 from the left, number 3 from the left, and then 5 and 6. There's definite cutout marks of that I didn't see when I originally scored.
Thank you, Dwayne. I'm sure that's useful for the maker.
And I would like to add for this particular image, if the person wants to take this to the next level, this is a composite image. And one thing that it is lacking is shadows by the feet. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like it's a little bit floating, but everything else I absolutely love. But if they want to take this image to that next level, I would probably pay a little bit more attention to that so the images are a bit more grounded.
Excellent. Thank you, Irene. That's useful. Okay, so the next category, there are no images for review in the children category. The next category is digital artistry. As you know, judges, digital artistry is predominantly focused on the post-processing. The image itself has to have impact, and obviously the photography is important, but it's really focused on the creation of the final art piece more than just the individual shots that go to make it up. First image in digital artistry, American Beauty. American Beauty.
Final score 82.
Stan, you broke up there. My screen's not refreshing.
Final score 82.
We still can't hear
you. Final score is 82.
Thank you, Kim. I apologize. For some reason, my screen's not refreshing. Dwayne, perhaps you'd talk about this, please.
I may have been the bad guy here. I scored the image of 78. When the image came up, initial impact is great. As I continued to look through the image, there is a level of photorealism that is carrying throughout the girl and the horse. And the backdrop that she was put onto looks almost more like a comic book, with the way that a lot of the leaves are floating unattached around the girl. They are actually grabbing my subject and pulling me away. As we go throughout the horse, the painting that was done on the horse's face is fantastic. But as you move into the painting on the horse's rear flank, it looks like it was almost computer generated and does not look anywhere near natural. The connecting points where the horse comes into the water doesn't look natural either. It looks like it was dropped in without having any ripple effect around the feet. And as you are moving down the pant leg of the girl of camera right, just below her knee, There's something going on with the pant leg where it's not as consistent with the rest of her trousers. These are things that are all catching my attention and distracting me from the image.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next image, also in the digital artistry category. Done for the day. Done for the day. Final score, 79. Irene, would you talk to this one, please?
So I gave this an 80. I actually like the feel and the color tonality of this. This is a, computer artistry. I don't know if this was computer generated or if the artists did it themselves by hand. I would like to assume that's the case, and in which case I like the color tones. I think that the presentation could definitely have been improved. That would have brought it up to the next level. There seems to be no key line or no presentation made available to this. But aside from that, I do like the feel of this image. So that's why I gave it an 80, deserving of merit.
Okay, and then thank you. And the final image in digital artistry, Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist.
Hey, Nick.
Yes, Jim. Dwayne.
Is it a suggestion or is it just totally optional for thumbnails to be added, or am I not seeing them anywhere?
Yeah.
It is a suggestion and you're not seeing them.
Oh.
It's not a requirement, but we do recommend it. But that will be a note to the maker that is generally recommended.
Okay, so based on what you just said, none of these images have thumbnails.
That is correct.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Yep, no, you're not missing anything. Final score, 79. Jim, back to you.
I scored this an 80. Really like the idea, the concept. The maker's quite creative with this. As I said, I scored it an 80. I think it was deserved of merit, but I think to push it higher, I think there are a couple of things. The fumes coming out of the bottle, blocking the eyes of the subject, I think is a distraction. If that had been tapered off, if there had been some liquid, I can't tell if there's liquid flowing or not. It looks like there may be a little, but the face needs to be separated away, or at least, in my opinion, needs to be able to be seen through it. The separation of the hair and the top of her hair, if there was a little bit of a kicker on that to separate it and give a little detail in that on her hair. Other than that, I think it's really creative and well done. There's more. I look at this. There's some kind of an anomaly on her arm. Her right hand and wrist are nice and smooth, but then it turns into almost I don't know, some kind of a grainy approach on her arm. I don't know if that's normal or not, but that's just something else that distracted my attention. But I like it. I scored it an 80, and I think the maker should be commended.
Nick, I'd like to make a comment if possible.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Dwayne.
I scored this image an 80 just to make an assumption and based on initial impact of this image. The truth is, I really have no idea how to score this image because what I'm looking at could be electronic arts. It could be a single frame done in camera with a little bit of Gaussian blur added to dry ice and water inside of the beaker. I have no way of being able to gauge what, if anything, was done to this image in electronic artistry to be able to gauge the amount of work, precision, or detail that was actually put into it.
Thanks, Dwayne. That's a good point. And that goes back to your point about source images. We'll definitely raise that with
Though there does seem to be some haloing around the test tubes there in the bottom, if you can see where it meets your arm. So it gives me the impression that it was cut out, but yeah, to Dwayne's point, and Jim's,
Oh, yes.
Have a source image there.
Okay, thank you guys. So we have 2 images for review in the digital artist category. The first one is Done for the Day. No, oops, sorry, my mistake. Come on.
You're right, Nick. Done for the Day was the first.
Yeah, Done for the Day is the correct image, and now I'm showing the correct image.
Okay.
Judges, if you would type into the chat either yes for goes to a merit or no for stays the same.
I don't see the chat.
Okay, it's the little bubble at the bottom. You see a chat bubble?
Hold on just a moment, because mine doesn't let me go. Okay.
Bring Zoom on top.
Yes, I'm now switching to the other screen. I have 2 screens kind of going, one that is
Got it.
more detail. Okay, so chat, got it. So I type in yes or no?
Correct.
Okay, see, yes. Okay, got it.
Okay. Image stays the same. Second image for review is Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist. Becomes a merit. So congratulations to the maker on that one.
And the room goes wild.
Well, I clapped.
Thank you, Dwayne. Okay, the next category is the illustrative or illustrative category. This is kind of the catch-all. It's the one for images that don't fit into other categories, but which are predominantly focused on their photography more than the digital artistry. The first image in illustrative is After the Roundup. After the Roundup. Score is 81. Dwayne, why don't you kick off with this one?
I scored the image an 82. Like the image overall. I think the maker actually made a good choice by putting this into illustrative because it's a great on-the-day capture. The one thing I wished would have happened, and I think it's also the reason why I didn't go into portrait, is had there been direct eye contact from the subject into the camera lens, I would have moved this up into a high merit, possibly an 85. It has everything it needs. There's a story of what's taken place. The colors, tonality are handled well. I would be careful of the detail in the lower right, particularly on the inside leg or where the chaps are falling to dark, but it's even with it right at the edge of losing all detail, it's bringing you back into the image. It's a very nice image.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next image in the illustrative category, Simple Life. Simple Life. Score is 81. Irene, this one's yours.
So I scored this as 78. I'm definitely above average, but a couple of things concern me that I think might have pushed it to the next level. First of all, I feel as if the trees have a bit of a distorted quality. I don't know if it's me, but almost like it was taken with a different camera angle than the girl itself. Also, I'm a little bit concerned with the color tones. You've got really, really blue. You've got a yellow lamp, but your main subject is definitely very, very warm, and it falls off into this kind of purpley leg shadow thing on the bottom. And I wished that those elements would have been drawn together a little bit more. The lighting on the lamp does not match anything on her face. It's a great try. I love the creativity of the piece, but that's where I'd have to keep this score given those concerns.
Can I make a comment?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
The points that Irene made, I scored it an 83, by the way, and I probably would have pushed this well up into the high 80s. But the intensity of the light on the subject, the little girl, does not match the light coming from the lantern.
Right.
And that concerns me. If you brought up the lantern and toned down the little girl, I think this could go a lot higher. It's pretty well done.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, the next image in the illustrative category is the Hermitage, or the Hermitage, depending on your particular pronunciation. Come on. There we go.
We need Jim's score.
Jim, have you scored yet, or are you still looking?
I have not scored yet.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
No problem.
Go ahead. Final score, 87. And Jim, this one's with you.
I want to challenge it.
Sure, challenge.
This is stunning. This, part of the reason why I'd love to hear what the other judges have to say, but this is extremely well done. The lines perfectly parallel, the exposure even in the shadows running down the left-hand side, impeccable. The reflection in the mirror, the fact that there is one of the brightest lights in that little dark hole down in the back draws my eye right down this path. All the lines, as I said, are perfectly square. Everything, it's stunning. It's a stunning photograph and extremely well done. I assume it's done with HDR, to increase the dynamic range, but I think this needs to go up into the mid 90s at least. I scored it a 95. I'd love to hear what the other folks have to say.
So I agree with you. I scored it an 85, and I was probably low at that because there's detail in every single one of those paintings before it fades away to nothing. It's beautiful, and everything that you said, I agree, and I'm listening, and I could definitely go up.
Dwayne?
I am listening. What I am seeing, I scored the image, I believe, an 80, 81. And here's what caught my attention. We are photographing the hallway, and I don't see any obvious reason as to why the maker isn't centered in the hallway. As you look at the floor patterns, we are about 2 steps to the right of center. The column on the camera left side is actually far from being vertical, and that could have easily been fixed in Photoshop. If you start with the ridge line about 2/3 of the way up and follow that column down, you'll actually see part of the bezeling start to appear at the bottom of that column. By pulling that out, we could have gotten vertical all the way down. Even when you're looking in the top left-hand corner of the image, where it makes the 90-degree on the curved portion that goes around the door frame, there is a bit of a black line that disappears as you follow the detail down the gold leafing. I was a little bit confused. The mirror reflection is fantastic, but I'm a little bit confused by what's happening in the window, because if this is HDR, there is detail in the upper portion of that window, but the lower part of the window frame, it turns into flat, no detail, looks like concrete on the outside, and I believe that there is more detail there based on what I'm seeing higher up in the window. Once we get past that first column just beyond the window, I love everything else about this image. I'm listening, and I'm willing to change my score.
Jim, rebuttal.
Initially, I thought of the point you made, Dwayne, about not shooting dead center, and then but if you were to take 2 steps to the right, you'd cut off half of that painting in whatever's in the doorway in the back. So I can see why the maker and initially I thought, well, gee, if you just moved over, but the more I look at it, the more I realize what the maker was seeing down that hallway. The other thing is, if you notice the first 2 pillars on the right-hand side, not the one that you were talking about that's out of square, but the first 2, those are lined up to show some of the artistry that's in there. I think that's well done. If your correction that you were talking about had been done, the parquet on the floor, in the very bottom, would have pulled out of. It would have been pulled to the corner of the image, which would meant that the 1/4 inch on the right-hand side would have been out of proportion. But I think that the maker, this is stunning. I mean, I was really strongly concerned of giving it 100, but there were a few things that I saw, like the windows. Yes, I can understand that. but I went 95 on it. I'd like to see this go up into the low 90s if it's possible. This is very, very well done. Whoever did it took a lot of time in setting up the shot and also in the post-production.
And I love that it's on the lower third. I think the
Yes.
door is on that third. And if you had been in the middle, you would have lost all that detail in the archway. There's a lot of artwork in each of those arches that lead up to the door. And had you gone over, you would have lost that. And it would have just been arches. And that would have been beautiful, but I think you would have lost that.
Yeah, I commend the maker on this one. This one's good.
Judges, would you please refresh your browser and rescore, this time selecting challenge on the checkbox on the bottom. Okay, final score is 94. 94 points. Thank you, judges. Good challenge.
Once again, I've been schooled by Jim.
No, Dwayne. I agree with you. That I agree with what you were saying, but we can talk about that one later.
Next image in the illustrative category, Way to Hope. Way to Hope. Final score is 81. Dwayne, this one's with you.
I scored the image, I believe, in 87. Love the colors that fall into place. I do like the position in this one. Nitpicky, this appears to be HDR. One thing that is bothering me about the image is if you follow the roof line from front to back, there appears to be vertical lines that could have been easily taken out. I don't believe they are part of the roof. We have detail from front, back, all the way through the doorway. I thought it was well done. That's it, my comments.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next image in illustrative category, Lion King. Lion King.
Damn it, I missed that.
Final score, 80 points. Irene, I think this one's with you.
So I initially gave it an 80, deserving of a merit, because I do like the initial impact. And I think at that, I may have been a little bit high. I do love the subject matter. There are a couple of areas that I think if the maker addressed it would make it even more impactful. The eyes seem a little bit soft to me. Maybe it's my screen, but I'm just noticing that. And the lion is looking off to screen right. I would have loved to have seen maybe a little bit more image on the right. what's drawing my eye away is the highlight on the left side of his mane. And if I look really close to the bottom of his, where the black meets his, the bottom part of his mane, it almost looks as if, in fact, I can almost guarantee this line's been cut out. So the longer I look at that, the more I'm a little bit concerned with that. And I would have toned down the green just a little bit more, maybe selecting a tone that matches the lion. The key line bothers me a bit. I would have loved to have even seen that line a little bit more in keeping with the color tones of the image. But overall, I mean, a beautiful picture of a lion.
Thank you, Irene. Next image, Triple Trouble. Triple Trouble. Final score 75. Jim, back to you.
Scored at a 78. The initial impression was really good. I like the concept of what the maker is trying to accomplish. A couple things that took me down. I think the color of the, let's start at the top, the third petal down on the right. That's I think too dark for the rest of the image. If you look where the light is supposedly coming from, that should be lit. A couple of points that it appears to be a little soft and a little grainy. Not sure what caused that, but the major thing that held me back is if you look down across the bottom of the bottom image, the bottom flower, it appears to be cut out, and there appears on the bottom right petal, there appears to be some kind of a ghost or a shadow that is extremely pronounced as opposed to soft, where everything else in the image is soft. Those are approach those issues, and I think this could go up into the merit category pretty well. Key line's good, presentation's good. I think it's just those issues that caught my eye.
Thank you, Jim. Next image, Ghost Flower. Ghost Flower. Final score 81. Dwayne, to you.
I scored the image a 78, and I really, really want to go much, much higher on this. But there's one thing that I just can't wrap my head around. So we have detail in the 11 o'clock position. We have detail at 12:3 on all of the petals all of the way around. Everything is bringing us in to look at the center of the flower. And then most of the stamen in the middle of the flower is out of focus, and that makes absolutely no sense to me when the stamen is within the circle of the petals and there's detail on each of those petals all the way around. So it's like you see this gorgeous flower and I'm just being hit with this roadblock there because I can't get past the softness of the stamen. The black and white on the petals, handled amazingly. I really want to see this redone where the stamen is in focus, and I would easily jump into an 85 plus on this. Key line is great. The presentation is fantastic. It's that one roadblock that I just cannot get around.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next image, still in illustrative category, Desolated Cart. Desolated Cart. Final score, 79. Irene, this one's yours.
Yeah, I gave it a 78. And while I really like the image, I mean, the colors are vibrant. It's clearly a very unique location, and I can appreciate the title having to do with the cart, but there's a lot of other things that are drawing my eye away. There's the sign, there's the electrical equipment, there's a lot of things. And then there's this white thing on the lower left-hand side. I feel like if it was truly about the cart, perhaps we could have cropped that in a little bit more. Also, I would really encourage the maker to pay attention to the presentation. I can really appreciate what you're doing, but that is one of the key elements of competition is a keystroke or something, and I don't see any visible evidence of that. So just pay attention to those few things, and I think it would definitely have more impact.
Thank you, Irene. And final image in the illustrative category, Light Painted Lilies. Light Painted Lilies. Final score is 82. Jim, back to you.
I scored this an 80. Love the presentation. I think the concept of what the maker is trying to do is really good. I would have gone significantly higher if the maker had adjusted a couple of things. Number one, the vase is too bright. It draws the first thing I saw was the vase. I'm not looking at the flowers, I'm looking at the vase, the white of the vase. Got to tone that down and bring up the light on the purple of the flowers. Make that the where your eye goes. My eye wants to go down below. Tone down that green on that stem, but I think this is well conceived, and I think with some minor tweaks to it in post, this could do really well.
Thank you, Jim. That brings us to the end of the illustrative category, and we have just one image for review, Desolated Cart. Desolated Cart. Same deal, if you would just type into the panel, into the chat. Stays the same. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the next category, give me 1 second. There we go. Next category is the landscape category. And the first image in landscape is a long way to go. A long way to go. Final score is 76. Dwayne, I think I'm with you.
I scored the image of 77. Cool title, great idea. I think the execution needs to be worked on. We're looking for a long way to go. But before we can even start, we have yet another roadblock with the the bamboo trees coming up right in front of frame, preventing us to get to the story. If the story is a long way to go, or if the story is a long way down from where this person is looking, then that person needs to be sharp. But the only thing that's actually in focus on this particular image are the bamboo trees that are in the front of the image. I'd say that this is an idea that needs to be tried again and look forward to the travels.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next image in the landscape category. Baron in Sossusvley. Baron in Sossusvley. And I apologize to travelers if I got that wrong. Final score 77. Irene, let's hear from you this time.
So I gave it a 77, and I would really like to like this image. It definitely, you can see that it is a barren location, but it lacked the impact that I want to see in a mirroring image. It just seemed a little bit more photographically flat. The highlights are bright. I just don't, there's not much of a story there for me to grasp onto. And again, lacking some presentation and clear direction of light. It just fell a little short for me.
Okay, thank you. Next image in the landscape category is High Tide. High Tide. Final score 85. Jim, this one's with you.
I scored it an 86. I really like it. This is great. The idea of making this into a black and white, using the reflection as part of the image, and I think the maker did really, really well. I think that with this particular image, it's sharp. It's sharp all the way through. The bike is sharp. Obviously, the shadow in the foreground is going to soften up a little bit in the water, but the reflection right at the wheels and the I'm just looking at some of the the spokes in there. There's a couple of little white spots in the spokes, but as the background is in focus, the reflections in the water, stunning job. Maker should be commended for this. I like the key line around it too. It just separates it, gives a little separation to it. Well done.
I agree. It's stunning. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, judges. Okay, next image in the landscape category. Cathedral Gorgeous. Cathedral Gorgeous. Final score 79. Dwayne.
I scored this right at 80 for the affiliate level. Cool concept. I would like to have seen the flash turned down in the bottom right-hand corner of the image. This is a long exposure. The stars possibly right about 30 seconds. And I'm making that comment because of what's happening with the stars. They're not quite trailing yet, but it was long enough to get them in focus. Not an easy photograph to pull off, but I think this is a great start and would encourage the maker to keep working on this because there should be something here to pull out. Like the way that this was done overall.
Thank you, Dwayne. Continuing in landscape, we have The Storm. The Storm.
Nick, can you hold on it?
Sure.
You text me the code. I lost my screen. All right, never mind. I got it.
It's come back?
I'll be in a second.
Okay. No, take your time.
Nick, I've lost my, I've lost the connection. I have the
Zoom?
I have the Zoom.
But not the slideshow?
Not the slideshow.
Okay, give me 1 second. I will send you the slideshow. Sorry, bear with me a moment or two.
No problem.
Hey, Jim, if you open up history, open up one of the previous slides and then do a refresh.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's as quick a way to get it as any.
Okay, I got it.
You back?
I believe I am. Yeah, I believe I am.
You should be looking at the storm.
The storm. Let's see. Yep, it's there.
Final score is 84. Irene, this one's for you.
Okay, I gave this an 83. I absolutely love lightning anyway, and I love storms, and it's very difficult to catch lightning. What kept me from going into the higher is just a few things that my eye were drawn to, and that is along the horizon line, there seems to be a bit of a kind of like a hazy thing I can't explain. Almost a processing. I don't know if it's over sharp. I don't, it's just something my eye is drawn to. Also, the water is very clear, but if you move and you follow the water line to the right side, the grass and the blades there are very, very sharp, but the water there appears to be blurry. So I can't quite explain that. Other than that, I really like the image. My eye is drawn to the upper right-hand corner. It seems to be a little spot of brighter blue. And I would just ask the maker to look at those things and perhaps just marry the colors a little bit. We've got blue, 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 and then green. And I think if it were stormy, I think those colors might be a bit more cohesive. But it's overall, the impact is very beautiful. And I really commend the maker. I gave it an 83.
Nick, what was the final score?
Final score was 84.
All right.
Okay, next image in the landscape category, a Utah treasure. A Utah treasure. Final score 86. Jim, this one's for you.
I scored this an 84. Love it. I think it's great. The one thing that upon first, I mean, I really like the image. I think the time of day, the lighting on the canyon, the colors on the buttes out in the distance, really amazing. The sky, I can picture being there and putting myself in that scene. The one thing that, and I don't know that this is true, but it feels like it's squished down, as opposed to everything seems to be compressed from the top down. The buttes tend to be a little bit taller than that. I would think if the maker changed the perspective on this slightly and elongated the top, raised the top up, it might improve the point that I'm trying to make. That I think that it just feels compressed to me. But other than that, I did score it an 80. I believe it was an 84. I really like it. I think it's extremely well done, and the time of day and everything was a good choice by the maker.
Thank you, Jim. Next image in landscape is white pocket. White pocket. Final score is 82. Dwayne, I think this one's with you.
I scored the image in 81. Almost, but not quite the right time of day. We've got shadows in the pinnacles in the upper left third. But if we would have waited another 30 minutes, maybe an hour, then we would have been falling into golden hour and the reds would have popped even more. We would have shadow detail in all of the ridges along that hill. The whites would not be quite as bright. Right now, they are on the verge of blowing out, not quite, but risking it. And I think there would be a bit of a smoother transition as we go from the whites of the pinnacles and the mountain ridge on the right-hand corner where it would blend a little bit better. I did take a closer look because I thought there might be some color separation. Not there, but it is a really rough transition based on the saturation of the colors. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Dwayne, and bless you, whoever sneezed. Next image in landscape, sunset.
Nick, before we go on.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I'm seeing the same compression in the top third of this image. This appears to have been shot with a pretty wide angle lens, but and this is a problem that I see with my images a lot. The top third of the image, when you're using a super wide angle lens, tends to get compressed. And by stretching that up to give it the proper perspective, I think could definitely help improve the image. Obviously, all the things Dwayne said, but those just things that hit me initially when I saw it. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Useful feedback. Okay, next image in the landscape category, sunset at the pier. Sunset at the pier. $79. Irene, this one's yours.
Yeah, I gave it a 79, and I think the image has initial impact, and it's just beautiful. I do love the length. I like the presentation. I do like the key lines that are put around it. What kept me from meriting it higher was that the waves are just not in focus. It's a lot of motion blur going on, which artistically kind of can be cool. But what's disturbing is that certain parts of, the bridge are sharp and in focus. The horizon line to the right are uber in focus. And then if you go to the left, you see motion blur on the pier itself. And the light posts seem to be tilting a little to the left. So the perspective is just a tiny bit tipped. But I really like where they were going with this. And I would reshoot this, and I just, it has a lot of potential.
Thank you, Irene. Next image, still in landscape, dune climb. Dune climb. Final score, 78. Jim, back to you.
I scored it an 81. I thought it was pretty good. I like the whole concept of the title, the everything. A couple of things kept me from going higher, but I think that, you know, I like the leading lines. I like how the line from the bottom right drives your eye up, and oh, there's the subject up at the top. Wow, dune climb. So, and it keeps drying my eye and in a big circle. So I come up and I come down those. I'm not sure if those are footprints that came down, and that brings me back down to the bottom, and I start right back up again. So it keeps me engaged in the photo. I think the merit is warranted on this. I think the image maker did a really good job on it.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And then the final image in the landscape category for today is Morning Storm. Morning Storm. Final score is 79. Dwayne, let's hear from you.
I scored the image a 78. I really, really want to like this. But as I go looking through the image, I don't have a landing point, as in there's no point of focus. The entire image is soft. I don't know if this was done on a tripod, handheld, but there's either a vibration going. There's just nowhere to focus on. Had anything been sharp, then we would have a base to then start from and look through the entire image. I think the concept is great. I think it needs to be redone, reworked.
Thank you, Dwayne. Okay, we have 4 images for review in the landscape category. Give me 1 second, this takes a moment. First one is Cathedral Gorgeous. Cathedral Gorgeous. Oh, no, wait. Sorry.
I'm confused.
That's not Cathedral Gorgeous. I apologize.
It's gorgeous, but not a cathedral.
No, that is... Okay, I want 28. Oh, come on. Slow down. Got it, Cathedral Gorgeous. There we are. Sorry, guys. Okay, if you could give me in the chat thumbs up or thumbs down. Stays the same. Next image up for review is Sunset at the Pier. Sunset at the Pier. Remains the same. Next image for review is Dune Climb. Dune Climb. remains the same. And the last image for review is Morning Storm. Morning Storm remains the same. Okay, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give our judges 5 minutes comfort break and just a chance to get up, stretch the legs, and so on. So we will be back in approximately 5 minutes at 7:49. Thank you, and we'll see you then.
Is it on silent mode?
Are we live still?
I don't know if we're live. I don't know if he pauses it, but I'm back.
Good, so am I.
The meeting is live. I have no idea if they're still streaming to YouTube at the moment or if that's on pause.
How come your picture isn't there, Dwayne? What do you know that we don't know?
So in the bottom right-hand corner of your Zoom window are two icons. One is a microphone, one is a video camera. That allows you to turn your camera on or off. As
Nice.
my blood sugar started to dip to... Hey, Nick, are we still streaming to YouTube or has that been paused?
No, we're still streaming.
Okay. In that case, I'll withhold comments.
Okay, so if I go like this, I just want to know how to work this, then you guys don't see me. Oh, but now I'm gone.
Now you're
No.
like super Zoom.
No, you're still there. Stop the video. Go down next to mute and stop video.
Uh-oh. I really screwed something up. Hold on. Stop video. Okay.
There you go.
But now am I around? Oh, no.
Now you're gone.
I'm gone.
Yeah, so just click it again and you're back on again. There you go.
No, I still don't.
Yeah, you are. I see you.
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, okay.
So judges, are you suitably comfortable, refreshed, and ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Yep. I've added a pillow under my seat.
There we go. Okay, so resuming, the next category is the nature category.
Okay.
And the first image in nature is Adorable Blue. Adorable Blue. Final score is 85. Irene, you get to go.
Okay, so I gave this an 80. I love the impact. I like the blue with the gold, and it's quite lovely. What kept me from going higher in this instance is that when I look closely at the petals, they almost have, I can see the cutout mark. I feel that the masking wasn't done as well as could have been to put it in the higher level. If you look at the flower, right behind the flower in the middle, and there's a pointy petal, and you can really see that there's almost a darker line that goes around it. So my guess is that this was originally against a much darker background. I would have also loved to have seen some shadow. The light is coming into the flowers. It is against a background. It would have been nice to have a hint of a shadow behind the flowers. That's my, but good job. And I always loved these flowers.
Thank you, Irene. Next image in the nature category is Caracal Kitten. Caracal Kitten. Or Carousel, I'm not sure. Final score is 78. Jem, this one's with you.
Okay. I scored it a 78, and I like the image. I think, wow, how could you get that close to a wild animal? I assume it's a wild animal. A couple of things that I think could be done to improve the image would be lower your angle. Number one, get down lower. It appears from the reflection in the eye that the maker is standing when he took it. Try getting down lower, that would help. There's some kind of an anomaly on the back of the cat that kind of my eye gets drawn to. I'm not sure if it's a blemish in the cat or if it's just an anomaly on there. The other thing is the cat's face is the darkest part of the image. The background is really bright. Tone it down, tone down that, make the cat, the face of the cat more in tune, but it's focused. I mean, I like the focus on it. I like the detail in the hair. I would lower it, and I would put more of a vignette on it. Reverse it from the background being light to the background being darker, and focus more on the face.
Thank you, Jim. Next image in the nature category, Relaxing Time. Relaxing Time. Final score 78. Dwayne, this one's with you.
I scored the image as 77. Technically, it's handled well. We've got focus. We have an obvious subject matter. Things that could have been handled better. Trying to adjust or find the right photographic position. Right now, we have the feeling of leaning over a rail and photographing straight down. If these guys are truly in nature, then the rake marks are a distraction, and not so much a distraction technically, but when you are creating an interesting photograph, that photograph needs to make the viewer contemplate what the real story is, what's really going on. But in this case, it pulls me out and tells me that these guys are in some sort of enclosure. Those are my reasons for the score I issued.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please go ahead, Ryan.
If you look on the lower right-hand side of the image, there is some clear, something was cut and pasted into this image to extend it. The lines aren't matching. You can tell that. I would encourage the maker to really pay attention to that. That's a detail thing, but that's what kept me from meriting this image. Can you see that on the bottom?
Yep, I agree.
Thank you, Aaron. Well spotted. Next image in the nature category, graceful iris. Graceful iris. Final score is 81. Irene, I think this one's yours.
Yeah, I gave it an 83. I really love the color tones on this. It's just, I think it's really a beautiful image. It just does have initial impact. What kept me from going higher is the haloing around the flower itself. There seems to be a lighter halo that I may not have, made so dominant. It would have made the image a little bit stronger. Also, I was a little bit concerned with the stem. The stem has some white on the outside edges of it. I would have just paid closer attention to that when you're putting these images together. Otherwise, the impact was lovely, I felt.
Thank you, Irene. Next image, penguin motherhood. Penguin motherhood. $75. And Jim, back to you.
I scored it 78, and I think that again, in my opinion, the problem it captures the essence of the penguins and motherhood and that, but the ground around it is way too bright, way overexposed for the animal. I would tone it way back and just bring the animals out a little bit more. And there's another distraction in there. I'm not sure what that is. It looks like some kind of over on the left-hand side, the orange plastic. I don't know. I relate it to a medicine, that you give kids as a way to dispense medicine. But so that's a definite distraction. But the whole white concept, reverse that again, bring that down and bring the subject matter. It'll bring the subject matter more to life. Plus, put it in some kind of on a background with a keystroke or something like that to accentuate or separate the image from the screen.
Thank you, Jim.
Nick?
Next, go ahead, Dwayne.
I think what we're looking at, I'm looking at the catch light in the baby penguin's eye and the black to color shadows overall. And I think this may have been done with on-camera flash. If on-camera flash is required, it's probably not going to turn into an image that will be suitable for image competition. If these were heat lamps of some sort, the catch lights in the baby penguin's eyes would be much larger and a different color.
Thank you, Dwayne. Good point. Next image in the nature category, enjoying dinner. Enjoying dinner. Final score is 81. Dwayne.
I scored this an 82. And as the saying goes, my name is Doug. Squirrel! This is just a fun little capture.
Yep.
The colors are somewhat muted throughout the image. You can see that he's holding on to something, getting ready to have dinner. The flaws in the ground actually work out to be great leading lines to bring you back into the main subject. There are two things that I would advise the maker to look at. Crop down on the image. All of the space above is not required. And by cropping down, you can get rid of the horizontal line through the top inch. That just doesn't need to be there. It doesn't add anything to the image. The key line, I'm not sure what's going on with that. It looks like it's almost a reverse key line, or it may be a flaw. I don't know which way to go, but I'm going to reward it to the maker. So about 2 pixels in, all the way around the image is a white line, but it is on all 4 borders. So I'm not entirely sure what that is. I'm not going to penalize for it. And then along that horizontal line, again, cropping it out would eliminate whatever is going on that we now have, and I didn't notice this before, random coppers and greens and colors that don't belong in the image. But I did score it an 82, and I'm staying with my score.
Dwayne, the white line that you saw appears to be a bevel.
Okay. Well, regardless, it looks like more of a distraction instead of a help to the image. And I always look at whether or not the special effects are a finishing touch or a distraction.
Correct.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next image in nature is my reflection. My reflection. Final score 78. Irene, I think we're with you.
See, I gave this an 81 because actually I kind of like the artistic nature of this. What kept me from, and I kind of don't even mind the tonality of it. It just, not quite black and white. It's just, it had an artsy feel to me. So I commend the maker on that. I would have encouraged, it has a slanty feel to me that I think would have gone away had the crop been a little bit tighter from the top page down. I think that would have made it more of a strong image to me. But I do like the feel of this. I think it's got an antique kind of artsy feel. I love the feathers and how they're flowing down off of the back of the flamingo. And we always see a flamingo as like stark pink and whatever. And this was a way to bring all those colors together artistically. So I commend the maker. I like it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, next image in the nature category. More, please. More, please. Final score is 78. Jim, let's hear from you on this one.
I scored this, gave the maker a merit, an 80, or I scored it an 80, I should say, in the merit category. I like it. I think, boy, I never tried photographing hummingbirds, but I gotta admit, boy, you gotta have some patience of Job to be able to do that. So I really like, and I like the way it's composed. You know, obviously there's not much you can do about it other than wait. But the only thing that kept me from going higher was there's an extreme level of graininess, especially inside the chick's mouth. If you notice it, you can notice it there. It's tack sharp. I mean, everything. There's no halo. At least I don't see any halo in terms of sharpening. So that's got to be right off the flash and in the camera. You know, a lower ISO might have improved that, but as I say, I really like it, and I think it has tremendous potential. If you know the white in the foreground gets knocked down, and more the birds, the nesting underneath, if that was a little bit darker, and so that the faces of the birds were more prominent, that would be better, and that would raise it up. I like the key line. I like the presentation on it.
Thank you, Jim.
Can I say something, Nick?
Yeah, go ahead.
And the one thing that I noticed, because I do photograph a lot of animals, and I love putting this artistic background, but this was composited out, and that's what kept me from going higher. I think had the edges of the bird not been so cut out to me crisp, I think it would have blended in even better. I really loved it, but that was the only thing that kept me. So if the maker's listening, that's what I would watch if you're going to composite and cut out a bird. Other than that, the bird is beautiful.
Looks like he's got the maker's got two strobes on it, one coming from the front and one from the side, but I'll have to defer to your expertise in that area.
Thank you. Okay, so that was actually the last image in the nature category. I apologize for not announcing that. So we have 4 images for review. The first one is Carousel or Caracal Kitten. You would give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Remains the same. The next one is relaxing time. Relaxing time. Remains the same. The next one is my reflection. My reflection. Remains the same. And the last one for review is more please. More please. Remains the same. Okay, our next category is pets. And the first image, in fact, the only image in the pets category is Stable Queen. Stable Queen. Okay, this one is getting 86. And actually, I'm going to go out of order. Irene, you're the high person on this. Let's hear from you.
Gosh, I mean, I gave this a 93 because I think it is a stunning image. I love the color tonality of this horse. I love the way the fur was handled, the background. I just love the way his back fades off, or her, you know, she's queen, so to the back. And I think it has a lot of beautiful impact. It's just so artistic and so pretty. And I would invite the other judges to look at that. This just, it's beautiful. There was a lot of work that went into this.
So, Aaron, is that a challenge or just...
Yes.
Okay. We have a challenge. Dwayne.
I scored the image an 81. There's a few things that are bothering me. So I love the expression on our horse's face. I do like the color palette overall. But now let's take a look at the image. If I believe this is predominantly a camera capture that's been vignetted, if it was painted in any way, then there's no reason to leave the knots all over the background. As I am looking at the horse and tracing the area over its head between its ears, there's something going on with the color separation that I can't figure out why, what it is or why it's there. Then between the horse's left ear and above the eye, there are blotches that absolutely do not need to be there. And again, I don't know why or how they're there and why they weren't taken out. As we continue to move around the horse's head, the mane over its back looks great. But again, if this was done to be from an artistic perspective, why wasn't the mane filled in to open up or to fill out or even out the area just to the left of the horse's nose where it's clear body and the mane becomes inconsistent? As we move underneath the horse's mouth, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 hairs that are so bright that they just take your attention away from the horse and have you looking at an area of the photograph that was at the same time vignetted down because it's not supposed to be calling for your attention. Now, I did score the image an 81. I do think it's a merit-worthy capture, and I believe that I scored it in the area that I believe is proper for it. Those are my comments.
Jim.
Wow. I believe I scored it an 83. But I could be convinced to go up. I mean, I see all the points that Dwayne is making, and I will admit that the knot holes or whatever they are on the back wall did cause me a little concern initially. But I also see one up in the top left. I see one in right next to the horse's ear, down next to just above the horse's right eye, over near the hind quarter on the left. So it's a function of what's in the background, so I can accept that. I like. I wish she had done her hair better, on the no, but seriously, it's a great capture, and I think the maker deserves I'll consider going up. I'd like to hear what what rebuttal Irene has to say.
So, Irene, in rebuttal.
So in rebuttal, I can appreciate Dwayne's comments, but I still stick to my original score because the knots that you're seeing didn't, and believe me, it would draw my eye if it really, but it feels like wood to me. Like it feels like this beautiful, majestic horse. The coloring is gorgeous. I mean, you look at it and you just stop and you right away want to look. I see what you're saying about the hairs, and yeah, Jim, they could have done their hair a little bit more, but gosh.
No,
I
was joking. I was joking. Go ahead.
But no, but I mean, but it has such, I don't know, there's such a beauty about it. And the knots kind of balance out with the dark background of the left side of the horse. So I feel like my eye still travels through this image, and I still think it's a gorgeous, I don't think it's just a regular capture. I think they did do a few things, more than a few in post, and it is beautiful. I like it.
Okay, judges, please refresh your browsers and rescore. And this time, please do check the challenge button.
And by the way, Irene, I was JK about her hair.
Well, females were always brushing anything. It could be
the stuff here on the yeah.
As is, I highly doubt that the horse was complaining about its makeup.
Right.
She needs lashes. Yes, I could see that. No, it's a beautiful image.
Final score, is 87. 87.
Okay.
Very good.
Challenge.
Thank you.
Okay. So next image in the, that was the only image in the pets category. And nothing for review in the pets category. Next category is photojournalism. Photojournalism. First image in the photojournalism category, always beautiful. Always beautiful. $81. Jim, why don't you take this one?
I scored it an 80. I think it's well done. I think the maker took time to compose it in such a way that the lines are all straight and captured the young lady in a moment of thoughtfulness. From what I can see, it appears that it was shot at a very wide aperture because the eyes and nose and mouth are sharp, but the ears are soft. And I would like to have seen a little more depth of field on it, but I think it's deserving of merit.
Thank you, Jim. Next image is left, right curve, downtown. Left, right curve, downtown. 82. Dwayne, this one's yours.
I scored the image an 80. If we go to impact, I like the initial impact as it comes up. The title and the overall feel of the image then takes me down a path where I'm thoroughly confused because I'm looking for a story, and the only story that I actually see is confusion. Are we going to go left? Are we going to go right? Is that bus in the way? Dead center of the image, the traffic light is so bright that it actually becomes the subject of the image. It's the brightest thing in the entire image. I still gave it a merit at this level, and I'm really not sure what advice I can offer that would actually help the maker bring this up.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
That center white line should be centered in the image. And just like in the architectural world, it should be, if it was dead center and square in the image, looking back at the structure, the art piece, and then obviously wait for the bus to leave, that would, I think, have increased the impact of the image. Maybe a little tighter crop also to get rid of the generator or the power supply on the left, and brought the, if it was centered and brought the crop into the edges of the allow a little bit of room on either side of the arrows, but cropped in tighter, that might have helped also. But all in all, I think it's a pretty reasonable. It's a good black and white, good tonality across it.
Thank you, Jim. Next image in the photojournalism category is bath time. Bath time. Oh, sorry.
Hey, let's go back to bath time.
Overshot. Sorry. 91. Irene.
I think I gave it an 87, and I really like this image. It has a lot of impact for me. I love the swirl of the water, just going up and over on both. I mean, you see little water droplets all over the place, and they're in focus, and they're clearly having a good time. I don't know if the ox is but everybody else is having a fantastic time. I like the color tone. I wish there had been more of a presentation, but that's not really keeping me from going lower or higher. So I gave it an 87. Nice job.
Thank you. There are no images to review in photojournalism. The next category is portrait. First image in the portrait category is calm. Calm. $78. Jim.
I scored it a 78. I think the title is good. The cropping is good. The composition is good. There are a few things that I would like to see possibly that could have improved it. The blouse or her sweater is, especially on her left arm at the elbow and up at the crease of her arm to her chest. It just doesn't feel right. It feels baggy. And it could have been adjusted, I think, a little bit better. Her left shoulder has some blurriness, especially around the hair. I'm not sure what caused that, whether it was cloning or whatever. Her hair needs attention. I think more attention to detail on that to smooth out some of the hair, and her hand placement. I think that you want to break the wrist. The left wrist is broken, the right wrist is straight, but you want to break up the brightness of the hand, because her hand is actually brighter than her face. So by placing the fingers over the top of it might have done that. Maybe she didn't want to show her nails, but tone that down, bring that down. Those are just some of the things that I see that could, there's flyaway hairs and things of that nature, but a little more attention to the hair before you take the photograph, I think could do wonders for it. I bet she loved it, though.
Thank you, Jim. Next image in portrait is the painter. The painter. Score is 85. Dwayne, this one's with you.
I scored this an 86. I love the overall feel of this portrait. Lighting is handled wonderfully to show the edges of our painter. When you look at his robes down at the bottom, there's an edge light that separates him from the back. As you come up, there's a clear separation all of the way around. The hairline exists. There's detail in the feather, in the hat. I would like to have gone higher, and I did score the image in 86. As I'm looking at the lighting, I am of the belief that his robes are purple, but there isn't enough light on the front of his robes to bring out that purple, and they're falling to black, which means no detail, not enough light in this case. Great image, great impact. That one edit, and I believe that this could work its way into the 90s.
May I say something, Nick?
Yeah, go ahead, Irene.
If you look at the feathers on the right side, really look by the key line. There's some cloning.
Oh.
There's two sets of feathers that are cloned that shouldn't be there.
I didn't see that before.
My eye is drawn to that. And the maker may want to pay attention to that and fix that. And it definitely stands a chance to merit higher.
Next image in the portrait category is pearls of great value. Pearls of great value.
Repeat the title, Nick.
Pearls of great value.
Pearls?
Pearls. Score is 87. Irene, I believe this one's yours.
Yeah, I gave this an 87. I really like the initial impact of this. I like the curvature of the subject as it relates to the topic of pearls. I like that you see the circles kind of woven throughout the whole theme of this, even along the back edge of her back. I don't know if you see that, but there's little pearls that just go down right the edge of her back, which I think is really cool. It just has a lot of impact for me. What kept me from having it go higher is that her right hand still feels a little, I don't want to say claw-like. It would have been nicer if that was a tiny bit more delicate. But overall, a very, very good image. So again, I gave it an 87.
Thank you, Erin. Next image is Happiness and Elegance. Happiness and Elegance. '84. Jim, this one's with you.
Yeah, sorry, I had to turn the mic back on. I scored this an 87, and I probably could have gone higher. I mean, it's beautiful, well done, well captured, great detail, good tonality. The lighting is really clean. The couple of things that I would have gone higher with it there are three basic things. One, the eyes. The left eye is pretty much completely, I've lost all the white in the eye, so I can't see anything in there. That's number one. Number two, I might have elevated the camera just a hair. I'm looking up into her nose and I probably would have come up just a hair to come down on her. And the other thing is the blood vessels in her right hand. That was a distraction. That ring just jumped out, and then I saw her hand there. So those three things, tone those down, and I think that could be. I mean, there's nothing you can do about the camera position, but I think the overall image is very stunning. Maybe lower her head a little bit in another shot, but it's very well done. As I say, I scored it an 87.
Next image in the portrait category is Just Me. Just Me. '78. Dwayne, let's hear from you.
I scored the image a 78. When the image comes up, the title sets the correct expectation. I'm okay with the blank stare that our subject has, but the lighting on his face is too hot. What's really holding me back is we lose all detail in his hoodie as we go throughout his chest. And then suddenly there's a magical beam of light running across his hands at the bottom of the frame. His hands in his pockets are super bright. And as we look at the background versus our subject, there's actually more detail in the background than there is on our subject. I think this is a great first attempt, and the maker should try it again.
Okay, and the final image in the portrait category is Dreaming. Dreaming. Score is 90. And I'm actually going to go out of sequence and say, Dwayne, since you're clearly the high score on this one, I'm going to give this one to you.
I scored this a 99. I'm going to stop with why I didn't go to 100 first. So across the bottom of the key line is warping. I believe this, I've seen this happen when the key line is layered over the subject. And so when you look at the hot points of the subject's hands, you can see where the key line either brightens up or actually looks like it's expanding. That's why I didn't give it a perfect score. Here's what I truly love about this. Fantastic storytelling, great impact. The lighting is handled fantastically. This is a subject that is separated from the background. When you get around to the shoulders, there's nothing there. There's no reason to separate the shoulder, and there's enough lighting on the shoulder to show the shape. But now look at what it is we're mixing. You have a highlight on the bottom of the incense stick, but there's detail throughout the entire incense stick. The cherry on the tip of the incense stick is lit up. You can see it. It's not blown out. This was a long exposure, meaning maybe a 30th of a second, because the shutter was open long enough to allow the smoke trails, or they were dropped in afterwards. I don't care. It adds to the story. Our subject is focused on the smoke trails they're creating. I love everything about this image.
Thank you, Dwayne. And that brings us to the end of the portrait category. We have one image for review. No, two images for review, I beg your pardon. The first one is Calm. Calm. Remains the same. And then the second image for review is Just Me. Just Me. Remains the same. Okay, our next category is seniors. And the first image in the seniors category is Summer Break. Summer Break.
Celebrate or summer break?
Summer Break. '81. Irene.
Yeah, that's the score. I think I gave it an 82. And I don't know. I like the feel, the initial impact of this senior, the summer break. It kind of is mimicked in the background that seems to be kind of a tropical feel. And the lighting is beautiful on his face. It's a different depth of field because his hands are a little bit out of focus, but I get that because it's leading to his face. So that's a score I gave it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. And then the final image in the seniors category is Anissa. Anissa. '85. Jim.
I scored this an 85. I think it's beautiful. The tonality on the skin is amazing. The position of the right hand is extremely well done. There's detail in the finger, the forefinger and the thumb. The tone on her face, her eyes, it's spectacular. I probably would have gone higher. The only one thing that caught my eye was the position of her left hand, and specifically her forefinger. I want to see that a little more relaxed. It looks like her fingers are all pushed together. A little more relaxed, and I probably would have gone higher with it. But it is a stunning image.
Nick?
Yes, Jim. I'm sorry, Dwayne. Sorry.
I also scored the image in 85. I would have liked to have gone higher, but I think, however the skin softening was applied, there was some sort of range variable that needed to be expanded because the skin softening does not carry through to the girl's left arm and left hand.
Okay.
But to add to that, I love the fact that they included enough of the suitcase to just not make this a high school senior or a senior from college, but she's getting ready to travel. They incorporated enough of a story to also make it interesting beyond just a beautiful picture.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dwayne. Okay, so the next category is the wedding category. And we require that wedding images be shot on the day of the event, whether it be a wedding, quinceañera, or whatever. There is only a single image in this category, a special moment. A special moment. '82. Dwayne, this one's yours.
Scored the image in 83. And I actually, with a couple of adjustments, there's room to take this well over an 85. Number one, the bride's dress really does need to be white, unless there's something about this wedding that I'm not sure about and she is wearing a gray dress. The handling of the doorway behind the gentleman's suit needs to be darkened down so it's consistent with the rest of the doorway. There is a line where that doorway was not darkened down along the gentleman's back. The horizontal lines in the staircase could be brought down because they're competing for attention with our couple. And where the bottom of the staircase merges with the key line, it's causing that key line to warp again, as I described earlier in another photograph. To the positives, fantastic moment just before the kiss. There is a connection of the two of them coming together, which is really pleasing, and I think it has fantastic storytelling.
So there were no images for review in the one image in the wedding category. This brings us to our final category of the evening, the workshop category. Now, the workshop category is scored just like any other score, but is not eligible for year-end awards. So treat this just as it would be any other category. And we have workshop. The first image in the workshop category is, I am ready. I am ready. '79. Ari, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I gave it a 78, and I really want to love this image, and it really is darling. The little girl is absolutely, she's so cute. My eye keeps falling to the right side of the page where I mean, she's clearly lit from the left. That would be the main light, but there seems to be equal intention to the right, and the background is lit. Had the maker just turned that whole thing down, put a stronger vignette so that my eye isn't so drawn to that, it would have definitely gone into the merit category.
Thank you, Irene. Next image in the workshop category is Queen of the Redlands. Queen of the Redlands. '83. Jim, let's hear from you.
I scored this an 85. I thought it was really well done. To be able to capture the cape or whatever the red flare is off of each side at that instant, with the light on the subject face and light in the detail inside the dress. Really, really amazing. I think maybe bring up a little bit of detail in the background in some of the shadow areas, I think might have improved it a touch, but I think extremely well done.
Thank you, Jim. And the final image in the workshop category, and in fact the final image of the evening, is Poised. Poised. The score is 78. Dwayne, let's hear from you.
I believe I scored the image a 77. Great initial impact when it comes up. I believe the lighting overall on our subject is actually about a stop too hot. I'm a little bit confused by the lighting overall, because as you look at her face and the harshness of the light, it appears to be a bare bulb light, but when you look at the reflections in her eyes, it appears to be either an umbrella or a softbox. So I'm not sure why it's coming off as being such a hard light. We are losing our reds as a reason, as it happens when they're overlit. Cameras don't like reds very much, so you have to be very careful with them. This image appears to have been cut out and placed into the background, and that's first noticeable when you look at her hands that are on the rim of the hat. There's a cutout line there. And then as you are tracing her hair, just above the area of hair between her shoulder and to the left of the necklaces, you have a dark purple, then suddenly it jumps to a really bright purple, and then back into the brightest portion of her hair again. And then lastly, there is something going on camera right eyeball where there is, it looks like the edge of a contact lens got caught up in some sort of detail enhancement going around the iris of her eye. I would say start again in the post-production of this and try to eliminate the obvious post-production factors that were just pointed out.
Thank you, Dwayne, and thank you, judges. That brings us to the end of the public portion of the image competition. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for watching.
Nick, we have 2 images for review in the workshop category.
My mistake. Thank you. Kim always keeps me honest. So As Kim correctly says, we have 2 images. The first one is I am ready. Well, it will be I am ready in a minute when I am ready. There we go, I am ready. Remains the same. And then poised. Remains the same. So at that point, this brings us to the finish of the public portion of the image competition. And we will stop the stream shortly. I wanted to thank our judges for amazing work and very insightful comments. Thank all of our contributors and competitors for their images. And ask you for your forbearance. We will be, the judges will now review all of the images to come up with the best in show. We will announce that at the August general meeting. So that'll be the 3rd Wednesday in August. So I'm sorry guys, but you're going to be sitting on your hands for a little while, but I know the excitement will make it all the better. So we look forward to seeing you at that August meeting, if not before. And at that point, I'm going to sign off and the judges will get to work. Thank you once again.
Okay, judges, I'm going to take control of the screen in just a minute. And all
Just give me a second. I'm trying to find out how to switch it off.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm going to find the right panel.
I'm just sitting back and touching nothing.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay.
It's here somewhere. I don't know if it isn't.